Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
God, I wish I had some alcohol.
It was funny.
Do we have alcohol?
Yeah, we do actually. It was funny because I was sitting at the computer. Our computers are back to back, so I was sitting at my computer, and it's not unusual for me to start laughing about something. That's normal. I'm always laughing about something, but Neon just starts howling, like laughing and laughing, and I was like, what? What's so funny? And then he read me this headline, and he just found that vastly entertaining. He was very amused. This actually amused him so much.
Okay, here we go. We're going in. All right. Gaming journos want you to know that the gamers need gaming journos
Because
to
they
tell
said
them
so.
what to think, to give them criticism on games. They're necessary. They are essential workers.
You could have just stopped with game journos say that you need them to tell you what to think. Because that's what this is all about.
That is what this is all about. So this article is actually from about a week ago. I just happened to find it. And look, I'm not trying to single this guy out, but there are a lot of gaming journos out there that think they're much, much more important than they actually are.
How about this? Game journos need to stick to game journalism and not try to interject politics and talk about other things like, Trump's golden throne in a PlayStation review. And they need to stick to what the actual stories are in gaming journalism. Tell people the cheats. Tell people where to find stuff. You review a game for what it is and not for your political motivation.
Yeah.
That's what people want. So game journalism stuck to game journalism, then we'd be good.
If they did a journalism instead of an activism,
We'd be good.
we'd be good. They make a lot more money. So
They wouldn't be getting shut down.
So here's what's going on. We did a video or two yesterday talking about the situation with BuzzFeed and that digital media is imploding. So before they were laying off at BuzzFeed and all these other outlets, right? And we did multiple videos on that yesterday. They were already laying off and shutting down video game blogs. In fact, there were multiple articles out there on non-video game sites saying it's game over for games journalism.
We've covered it many times.
And we talked about the Hogwarts Legacy situation, which has definitely put a target on gaming journos because the game sold phenomenally well without gaming journos because a lot of them boycotted it or wrote hit pieces on it.
Right.
It's still sold very well. So, they're really not necessary. But of course, we're going to have gaming journos say that they are necessary.
They're not going to say they're not necessary.
Well, who's going to? Yeah, but so this article.
Necessary.
This article.
You can't have thought control without me.
This article is being written by this journalist not for gamers to convince gamers. I guarantee you, this is being written to convince his boss to keep him on because they're going to start I guarantee you when they start laying people off at PC Mag, they're going to lay off the expert critics, the gaming journos.
No, but they're just the very talented writers and editors that like me. I'm the really talented writer and editor at PC because I say so. Because my mom says I'm talented.
That actually happened to me one time.
You told the story, but tell it again.
I'm going to tell the story again.
You forget about the story.
So I started out actually as a newspaper editor.
Yes, we actually are from actual media.
And that was how I cut my teeth in doing everything else. I was a newspaper editor, and I was actually the managing editor for this one publication. And I came in and my job was to turn it around, to make it profitable, to change up the editorial, the graphics, the advertising, the whole thing. Be like, hey, just gut this thing and start over. I'm like, okay, cool. So I had to fire writers, obviously, that weren't pulling their weight. And I fired one writer. And
that was after giving her numerous chances.
Gave her numerous chances. And she was very combative with me because
she wanted your job.
Because the person I replaced was her friend. Basically, and that's how she got her job. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you're not bringing it, and you're constantly you're blowing your deadlines, and nobody's reading your stuff, and it's like it requires so much editing that it's like, what the hell are you? Why am I hiring you? You're making my job harder. So bye, Felicia. Her name wasn't Felicia. Anyway, about 2 weeks after I get rid of her, I get a phone call from a very angry woman. She's like, there was this one columnist you had, and she was so good, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Read me the riot act. I'm like, I'm sorry, ma'am. I've got orders from on high to redo the publication, and she just didn't fit with the new thing. Whatever. Appreciate your concern. After the fact, check the caller ID. It was the writer's mom. It was her mom. her mom called the paper. One person complained to bitch that we got rid of her, and that was the only person that missed her, was her mom.
I know, but I mean, as a mom, I can see why she did it.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was.
I'm sure her daughter, she knew, would be embarrassed as hell.
I didn't make a big deal about it. We just didn't run her stuff anymore. It's like, God. Anyway, before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. You'll get a woohoo if you do. See, look at that. You get a woohoo. So yeah, this is a writer. This is a gaming journo on PC Mag, giving the industry the what's up about why you need to keep him on. Game journalism layoffs. Everyone suffers without expert criticism. Fans, developers, and the rest of the gaming community are harmed when hostile market forces push talented writers and editors out of the industry.
This is a harm that's literally killing trans people because if you play Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Every time you buy it, someone that's trans dies.
Hostile market forces, that's code for when the venture capital runs out.
And the advertising rates are down.
And the advertising rates are down. Hostile market forces, you mean the market which is self-correcting. Okay, because I want to remind you before we get into this, just back in the day, because I'm old, this is where I got my gaming news from.
My brother did too.
Early. I still have a stash of these in the garage somewhere.
Mm-hmm, you do.
I have these instead of Playboys. Electronic Gaming Monthly. I love Electronic Gaming Monthly. And someday I'm going to share these mags with my son. And but this is where I got my gaming news from. And when they first started, before they were like a big Ziff Davis thing and making lots of money, it was basically a couple of guys who like to play video games who wanted to talk about good video games, bad video games, and have interviews with people who made video games. And that was it. They loved what they did, and it came through. And you could trust their opinions for the most part.
It was sexist of you not to share it with your daughter, too.
I could share it with my daughter, too.
Real quick, though, because I have a funny story that's about, you said about share your son.
I was joking because of the Playboy thing.
It ties to the Playboy thing.
Okay.
So it's about your son. So
Whoa.
I went to a craft store, went to Michael's with him once. No, maybe it was Michael, whatever it was, craft store. And they had flyers up front. And this was like a few years ago. So he was like, I don't know, 14 or so. And he walks up to one of the flyers, picks it up, opens it normal, and normally how you'd open a flyer. And he goes, what a deal. And then he turns it like you would turn a Playboy magazine. And then he goes, what a bargain. And there's people standing there. It was really funny.
I used to
made him do it again so I could tape it. Anyway.
I used to look at my EGMs that way.
You said a Playboy and your son. That's what I thought of.
I had almost every issue. I used to save my lunch money, and I'd go to 7-Eleven and buy EGMs instead of eating.
My brother had a subscription.
I just had to save up my money and buy it at full retail. But yeah, I freaking loved this. I loved EGM. I would read it cover to cover. God, probably every issue 10 times.
A lot of people did. It was like, especially for gamers, it had all the cool new games coming out.
Yep.
It had all the cool looks at different places, like secret things you might not know about. And it was,
They made stuff up sometimes.
Yes,
that's okay.
But,
That's okay. But anyway, they actually...
So do these people, so it's all good. It's a cornerstone of games journalism.
All right. I'm very fortunate to have a job. That's it.
That's because it said right there.
That lets me regularly write about video games and enjoy healthcare. Oh my God. Really? That's actually kind of cool though.
Most people don't get that.
No, most people don't get that. I worked hard to get here. I'm also lucky to have this chance. Okay. That's cool.
Okay, I appreciate the opening.
It's been absolutely demoralizing to see countless other talented video game journalists lose their opportunities as wave after wave of layoffs rip through the industry, silencing veterans and denying newcomers. It doesn't have to be this way.
Yes, it does have to be this way. Because what happened was, here's how the economy works. What happens is, if you have a successful magazine that people want to read because it's actually doing what it says, you have more money. And when you have more money, you can keep people. But when you start taking your magazines and your journalism and making it about other things that aren't what your core audience is wanting to read or used to, you lose money. And when you lose money, you have to make tough decisions and cut people. By the fact that you still are there, that's a compliment to you saying that you must bring it.
You are using your second grade teacher voice on
I don't even do it on purpose.
You're using your teacher voice because you're trying to explain basic economics to this person. And again, look, dude, I'm not
Force of habit.
I don't know if you're a good writer, bad writer, whatever. It's actually.
Well, it must be good or you wouldn't still be here.
It is a compliment that you're able to write about video games and have healthcare. Hell, did I have healthcare when I was even running a damn
No,
newspaper?
it was a health savings account, wasn't it?
A health savings account. Yeah, basically we'll put a little bit of money in an account.
Well, if you had
every week.
healthcare, it was just you and they wouldn't cover your
I think it was just me, and then we had health savings. Anyway, even if you don't think you care about video game journalism, you should. Video games are art, and the video game community as a whole is so much poorer without a strong media that's able to champion and critique that art. That media can't exist without support for its workers.
It doesn't have support for its workers because there's no money to support the workers. They can't pull money out of their ass to give it to you people because you think you should have a platform. This goes along with the whole idea that we've been saying since the mid 2000 teens that these people came in to warm seats that were already established by other people,
yes.
and then they used it as their pedestal for activism, and then the money was
never there. It was never there.
So you cannot continue to do your activism as journalism and get paid. Now even journalism as journalism can't happen because there's not enough money because you lost all your readers. This is just basic economics. Just because you don't like it, just because we agree with you, it's shit. It sucks that people aren't able to work because there's not enough money. But that's how this works. If you have a restaurant that sells shitty burgers and your customers stop coming to your restaurant, you can't just keep everybody on staff and hire more because no one's buying your shitty burgers.
So we're gonna start a chain of restaurants called Shit Burger.
Shitty Burger.
And put like a little a turd emoji on it and be like, come on in the Shit Burger and see how many of those you sell.
Yeah, so you're not gonna sell many. I mean, you already established when you've had a name that like PC Gamer or PC Magazine, where the hell you are, and you established over time that people will come there for wanting, information on PC, but instead they get information about Trump. They're not gonna come back because they're like, I'm gonna go find a news outlet that's giving what I want. I want to know how to cheat this level. I want to know
how to cheat.
I want
to read about Trump.
I want to know about new games coming out. I want a fair review about a game, not a review about a game with a bunch of politics thrown in. And they're not gonna come there. And it's just across the board. A lot of these sites are collapsing. And like you said, venture capital wasn't there to support them. No. A lot of them were never sustainable to begin with.
Yeah, I think PC Mag more so because it has a print component. I think they still print it, and it is covering
more than
tech
just games,
news,
yes.
like all the way around.
That's
it's more than just
different.
Games. Actual gamers have moved on because they don't trust the media because your peers did a damn good job of making sure that gaming journalism is a joke.
Plus, we know because BuzzFeed came out public, and it turned out that their stuff went through the crapper because a lot of stuff was faked.
Yeah.
Everybody started to realize, oh wait, maybe the views on these blogs aren't as good as they keep telling us they are, and then advertisers aren't getting their ROI on it, so they pull.
Yeah.
That's return on investment. In case you don't understand, I'm not talking about some person named Roy. They don't come with a free Roy.
Like a pull on Roy. To get he'll give you some venture capital if you do.
No.
All right, so this is he's going on about inside baseball, and we've talked about it too. And I'm going to refute this, and I'm going to tell you this is the economic reality that we live in. Again, he is in a different situation. He works for a magazine that prints, that has paying subscribers. It's a different thing. He also is
a journalist who isn't privy to. It isn't part of the people that deal with the economics.
So, yeah, I spent most of my career working, as a journalist, as actually a managing editor, which is a little bit different than an editor. An editor edits stuff and gets the publication together. The managing editor also has access to the financials. So it was basically my job to make sure that not only was the stuff performing well, not only were we adhering to editorial guidelines and the flavor that we were going for with the publication, but it was also my job to keep an eye on the advertising rates and the subscription rates.
And if they dipped, you had to adjust accordingly.
Exactly, because there is so much compartmentalization at bigger publications where the accounting department doesn't know what the editorial's doing, and they don't see the direct connection. You write anti-Trump articles disguised as a PlayStation 5 review, you're going to see a drop in viewers and your audience, and then you're going to see a decline in ad revenue, and then you got to adjust accordingly.
And the competitors that you have that are actually doing games journalism are still taking a hit too, but they might be doing better because people know to go there for actual news.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these sites are being told by their owners now to shut the hell up.
That's just true too. A lot of these sites before were all owned by conglomerates, and now they're all being gobbled up by other places.
Okay, so here we go. What's happening in the video games journalism? This is Inside Baseball. The current layoff nightmare is by no means exclusive to folks who write about video games, talking about tech, layoffs, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft.
Which we've been talking about here.
These massive corporations sucked up so much cash, especially during the height of the pandemic, and yet they have, quote unquote, no choice but to put an unconscionable number of employees out of work as they, quote unquote, get ahead of the recession.
Because they have to save money to try to save the publication because they are losing money with your bullshit.
They overspent. Look,
and you guys are costing them money and customers.
What happened was they overspent and they overhired.
It's not hard.
Facebook. Trust me, if Facebook could save face by keeping their people on, they would do it. What's going on is they way overspent. A lot of these companies thought that the good times were going to roll forever, and they went and they hired a bunch of people.
They hired people to get through it, and then they had no problem shedding them after they were through it.
Right, and now they're like, oh, shit. And it was all dependent on ad revenue. Like, I don't understand.
Ad revenue's down, people. I'm sorry.
Everybody's down. In video games, because in video games, and that's what I care about, it means paying attention to my peers in the space. It means seeing a soul-crushing succession of news stories detailing the latest publication suddenly decides to, quote-unquote, scale back. The companies that own these gaming websites, the companies that... She's smacking herself with a newspaper. The companies that...
It's so stupid, it hurts.
That own these websites... all right, are not the Facebook and the Amazon and the Meta. You do not understand. I am going to school you, Mr. Gaming Journo, as a business owner who owns smallish digital media outlets. The ad revenue is down more than they're probably telling you because they don't want to freak you out. They don't want you to quit. They don't want you to go until...
And you still have subscribers in a print version, too.
Their business model's different.
But that's why you're a little bit better off than other places.
And the outlets that they're naming. We saw layoffs at Fanbyte, GameSpot, Gamer Group, Giant Bomb, Vox Media, Washington Post. Most of them are advertising supported. And the fact that even like the Washington Post is cutting gaming journos first shows me that the gaming journalism is not bringing enough eyeballs.
They don't need you. They can just go to YouTube or Twitch. Right. Let's be honest here. If they want to know how to play something, if they want to see what a game's like before buying it, if they want any of that stuff, they no longer need you.
No matter the layoff scale or the amount of attention it received, at least one person lost their job and suffered the potentially life-threatening consequences that follow.
That sucks. We've
every
been there.
industry. I have been laid off before, and it had nothing to do with gaming. It's just the economy. Why do these gaming journos, are these people so, and I've seen this so many times, not just this guy, but so many other gaming journos. This had to have been like their first job out of college because they don't seem to understand this. You're not immune. In fact, you are much more disposable than like the electrician or the plumber, or whatever, but you're not immune from the economy.
No. And,
and
I'm going to argue this one and certain decisions made by elected government impacts when we have major hits. Some decisions are bad decisions. And because of bad decisions, it leads to a bad economy. I don't know what to tell you. It's just how it works. Maybe some of the choices you made when you voted people in might be leading to your issues.
So here's why you should keep him on staff.
Oh, that'd be good.
The fatal wounds to video game journalism don't just hurt these writers and editors. They hurt games, and they hurt readers and viewers and listeners.
No, you have to have readers.
If you had
readers, viewers, and listeners, you would not be having cuts.
We're rapidly losing our smartest voices.
That's arrogant.
That's presumptuous, and it's killing our ability to regularly have the intelligent and meaningful conversations that help games and players grow. So
no, we're not. We're losing people that tell you what to think.
So outlets like The Gamer wanted to have meaningful conversations with gamers and tell them not to buy Hogwarts Legacy. The game sold like gangbusters. The BBC actually had to issue a formal apology to J.K. Rowling because the editor of The Gamer went off the deep end on a podcast. And you're going to tell me that these cuts don't need to be made because all the gaming studios are going to look at is they're going to look at the sales and be like, well, the gaming journos were all against this game and it sold really well. Why do we need them? Why do we need them?
Because when you're saying this, what you mean is you want people to think what to think as from an activism political standpoint. Because when it comes to just telling people what you think about a game and sticking to just the game itself and how it plays and what you thought of it is one thing. You guys don't do that anymore. You're mad. Just cutting through the bullshit. We're mad because we're getting laid off because you need us to tell you what to think and what's right and wrong. And you know, because you're just mindless drones. If you don't have the super talented and, you know, smart people like us telling you, we can't control people if they're not listening to us.
Well, here.
Feel guilty and listen to us.
So this is, I think, reading between the lines about Hogwarts Legacy. When we build up game media, we draw more attention to small projects that deserve more love.
I agree with that.
So do YouTubers. So do people that just tweet about games.
But I agree with that.
Yeah, I do. But is that worth keeping somebody on staff full time for?
No,
you know?
but I'm saying that they do bring attention to small projects, yes.
We openly criticize big projects that deserve more scorn.
And sometimes you just criticize projects because you personally have political beef with it. It has nothing to do with the project deserving scorn.
We step back and examine a game's bigger potential role in society.
Was this about like Last of Us 2?
Yes. You had to tell gamers they had to like it. We speak to hardcore enthusiasts as well as the curious mainstream. We aren't force-fed corporate marketing points or fanboy misinformation.
No. Any point of view that's not our point of view is fanboy misinformation. We know this. This is another reason why media in general is suffering losses. They've been telling the fans for years that even if you've been a longtime fan of something, you're supposed to love every change they make ever, and if you don't, you're a toxic, terrible person. That's what that means. We aren't force-fed corporate marketing points. Bullshit. That's not true.
So here's the thing. You have been, you and your... They always use the ilk. You and your ilk. You and your ilk have been replaced by YouTubers and streamers and so many other actual gamers playing actual games, talking to people in real time, showing off the games. And I guess that's fanboy misinformation, but whatever it is.
Fanboy misinformation. Yeah, playing the actual game, fanboy misinformation.
That's being able to play video games is fanboy misinformation.
It's just translation for you. You know, our narrative is different than yours, and if you don't agree with us, it's fanboy misinformation.
YouTube is the heir to the era of Electronic Gaming Monthly, to fan magazines.
You go to listen. I mean, you listen to documentaries all the time on the history of video games, or like here's a game coming out and here's how they got there and what, you know. You listen to all that on YouTube all the time.
Yeah, there are so many phenomenal gaming historians on YouTube that do not work for the mainstream gaming press, that do a much better job than the mainstream gaming press. You aren't necessary anymore. And I'm sorry, it sucks to hear that, but you know what? Your peers... Be very grateful you still have a job. Your peers did this to themselves. They made themselves obsolete because all YouTube is doing, all podcasts are doing right now is rolling it back to this era of gaming journalism where it was gamers giving honest opinions. Sometimes the takes were good, sometimes the takes were bad, but they were giving their honest opinions as gamers.
Not as activists. Not as activists
on what they thought about the video game. And that's it. That's all people want. And you couldn't do that. That was your primary job, was to talk to gamers about video games on their level, and you couldn't do it. You had to make everything political, and the money just wasn't there. So it's game over, I guess.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
This is how the economy works. Take an economics class. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you.
Learn to code.
No money, yeah, right? No money means you can't keep everyone and hire more people. And it's a sad reality. If you wanted more money, you should have made better choices. And even the outside factors like, you know, ad revenue drying up. I think a lot of it's because it's going to video, or it's because there's been a lot of false, you know, views on things that advertisers feel like they're getting a loss in money. Those things, you know, you can't necessarily control, but you know, it is what it is. That's how economics works. It's not that hard.
The market is correcting. So we're going to wrap it up.
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, we'll talk later.
Bye.
Help support the channel. Go to thereef.support and get early access to podcasts, videos, and other content. That's thereef.support.